Hi, and welcome to the Revive, Thrive, and Optimize podcast. I'm Billy Weiss, compounding pharmacist and health and wellness expert. This week, across from me as usual, my co-host Janet Miller.
Good morning,
Behind
Mike.
the scenes, Mike. Yeah.
Good morning, Billy. How's everybody today?
Doing great.
Yeah.
Hope you are.
I am doing good, and of course, I've got more questions. And
Okay.
I'm counting down how many weeks it is into our annual summit. And the annual summit is when we get to sit down for an entire weekend with Billy and ask our questions and learn and take notes. And so I'm starting to ask questions, and then my friends are starting to ask me questions. Well, ask him, about this or about this. So we've been talking a lot about hormones, but I want to go in a little different direction. Somehow I feel like it might go full circle. But a friend of mine recently had her gallbladder removed.
Mm-hmm.
I have a family member that recently had a gallbladder removed. And then I have a friend who had her gallbladder removed years ago, but is starting to have problems now that maybe that's related. So tell us, what is a gallbladder? Why do we need it? Do we need to get it removed? And if we do, then what?
Janet, if you look at the statistics, one of the two year after year most unnecessarily done surgeries is gallbladder removal. Now, it doesn't mean sometimes they do have to remove them, but a lot of times the gallbladder gets sluggish because people have been trained not to have fat.
And so wait, say that again.
So a lot of times a person's gallbladder will become sluggish or not working right, and they'll start to have the pain and the stomach pains, the aches, and they'll say, well, your gallbladder, you may have stones or whatever, needs to come out. And that can be the case, but most typically what happens is when we don't eat enough fat.
Wow. And enough good fat.
Enough good fat, yeah. And we've been trained, of course, that, saturated fat, especially like butter and those things are really bad for us. Fat from red meat would be bad for us. When actually it triggers the gallbladder to work. And when the gallbladder works on a more routine basis, you typically don't have those issues. But the reason the gallbladder is so important is it does a lot to help with digestion. And so it helps us break our food down, right? I tell everybody, you eat a protein, well, that's a big chain of amino acids. We have to break that down into small, single amino acids, right? We have to break down fat into fatty acids. We have to break down carbohydrates into smaller chains in order to be absorbed into the cells. So the gallbladder plays a huge role in that. So when you take your gallbladder out, you actually are not able now to digest things nearly as efficiently or effectively as you were before.
And what types of things can you not digest as well?
Well, it would be anything? Right? Because the gallbladder helps break down more specifically fats, but it helps break down proteins. And carbohydrates also. The three macronutrients that we take in. No matter what you're taking in. So the studies show that once you have your gallbladder removed, your lifetime risk of diabetes actually goes up by 50%.
Wow.
And that's because now you're not able to break all the carbohydrates down as efficiently. You're not able to break the proteins down as efficiently, not able to break the fats down.
And when you add aging on top of that, it's getting harder anyway. We get more insulin resistant. Our hormones are out of whack. And then we also don't have a gallbladder. And then I can see where that would maybe even kick off an autoimmune that's lying dormant. So,
well, and remember, Janet, a lot of people are already digestive enzyme deficient. Okay,
I love my digestive enzymes.
Well, I explained this in the summit that's coming up in January. Is that what happens? Is maybe we don't have a gallbladder. We have a gallbladder that we've let get sluggish because we've been told not to eat any fat, right? Or we need to reduce fat. And so what happens is, the liver can help make enzymes. The pancreas can help make enzymes. But what in America happens is, right, the liver is overwhelmed with all the toxins. We have all these forever chemicals coming in. We have the atrazine, we have the glyphosate, we have the stuff, the 10,000 chemicals that are allowed in food in America.
So we already have a sluggish liver.
And we have heavy metals from maybe shots that we took, that they told us were necessary. Who knows, right? And so the liver's main function is to get rid of toxins. So the liver is saying, hey, I'm overloaded with toxins. Or maybe if we're like, hundreds of millions of Americans, we have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or even worse, we're drinking and we have fatty liver. We're drinking alcohol. So the liver's doing all it can to survive. It says, I'm not going to help you with digestion, right? That's the least of my worries. I'm trying to keep you alive. From toxins. Then we take the pancreas and we say, well, the pancreas could help, but the pancreas is overloaded with, guess what? Insulin resistance. So the cells are insulin resistant. So now the pancreas is working overtime. And that's why we try so hard to get people to measure fasting insulin. Because even if your A1C is normal, your fasting insulin could be really high, working overtime to keep your A1C number down over that 3 months. So, and that's where now the pancreas is saying, hey, I'm doing all I can do to pump out the insulin in these big quantities. And so their digestion starts to fail.
And then is that where, a lot of times you'll feel bloated or have a stomach ache or a pain, and it's never ending.
It is never ending, Janet. And we see it all the time. And that's why one of the foundational four is the digestive enzyme that I created or formulated, because it is so important today to make sure that we're digesting food properly. That is one of the foundational four supplements.
I keep my digestive enzymes in one of those little plastic baggies, and then I keep it in my purse. So I've got some in the car, some in my purse. And I went to a yoga class the other day, and afterwards I met a bunch of friends for lunch. And we're all students of yours, and it was so funny because we all sat down and we all took our digestive enzyme down, and everybody had a little pill on the table, and the waitress looked at us like, y'all getting ready to do mushrooms this morning or what? We're like, no, we're taking our digestive enzymes.
I love it. So, the gallbladder plays a really critical role. And by all means, if somebody has to have it removed, having it removed is fine.
And what would be a reason that you had?
Well, if you had stones that are blocking it,
okay,
you probably have no choice at that point. It can become, an emergent situation in some cases. But I think if you take care of the gallbladder, just like if we take care of everything else in our body, it's much likely to last and work sufficiently or efficiently much longer. And that is to take in good quality fats.
So without a gallbladder, if you're a person who's had the gallbladder removed, good quality fats, digestive enzymes, what else?
Well, they have to be, they really have to critically use the digestive enzymes, and probably not just once a day, but at every meal.
At every meal, okay.
Yeah, because they're just not getting that same benefit that most people with a gallbladder are getting when they eat.
Taking digestive enzymes, do you recommend 15, 20 minutes before the meal, during the meal?
We usually just do it right at the beginning of the meal.
And if you forget?
You can do it after the meal also.
Okay.
You have a window of probably 30 minutes to an hour before or after would be fine. But the most common time, and the way that I do it and think about it, is like you said, I'm sitting down to eat and I put my digestive enzyme out. Yeah, and take it.
One of the things that I love about your class that you do each time, and this is so cool to come watch, is that Billy actually takes some, I think it's chocolate pudding.
Yep.
And then he'll put a digestive enzyme, just a little capsule, in the pudding and wait about 10 minutes, and that turns to liquid.
Right.
And it's such a great example of what's happening to the food in our stomach, breaking down and turning into more of a liquid form so that we can absorb it and digest it.
And Janet, I got to be honest with you. I mean, of course, none of what I teach did I learn in pharmacy school, but coming out of pharmacy school, Beth and I didn't learn anything about enzymes. We didn't learn anything about hormones. We didn't learn anything about vitamins and minerals. But when I went through my A4M training, to get my advanced fellowship in metabolic and nutritional medicine. There's a doctor that taught Hiromi Shinya, and he's actually from Japan, and he is the way I understand it, like he practiced in Japan. I don't know that he still does. This was years ago, but Japan and America, and he was like the Japanese hierarchies doctor, and he would come here and treat very high end people. But he is the doctor who invented the colonoscope.
Colonoscope.
Yeah. So if you've had a colonoscopy, he's the guy who came up with or invented the technology to be able to do it.
Did he invent the Kangen machine too?
No, but he teaches a ton about how important it is. As a matter of fact, he wouldn't at the time take you on as a new patient unless you were willing to drink Kangen water. He said it was too important.
Wow.
But he wrote a book called The Enzyme Factor. And he talks about how important enzymes are. And one of the reasons that I decided that this should be one of the foundational 4 was a lot of the research that he gave, that we are born with a limited amount of enzymes, according to all his research. And once we run those enzymes dry, we run the tank out, the well's empty, things are going to start to break down because we can't break the food down. Now, I'm afraid that a lot of times what happens is we accelerate that when we have the gallbladder. So Shenya's kind of thought process was, if we can replace some of our enzymes on a daily basis, we can keep our well full longer, right? We can keep our enzyme pools there longer, and we'll have longer, healthier, more productive lives.
And is that going to help someone with leaky gut?
Absolutely. The 2 hallmarks of leaky gut that we use are 2 of the foundational 4, the probiotic and the digestive enzymes. So yeah, absolutely. It's going to go a long way toward healing the leaky gut for sure, and trying to prevent the leaky gut. And Janet, I got to tell you, I know we did one on autoimmune, and we know that starts in the gut. We know 70-80% of our immune system is in the gut. But almost everybody I talk to, I feel like probably has symptoms of leaky gut. It is almost universal. And the number of Americans that are on these proton pump inhibitors, which is when I do the pudding.
The purple pill?
The purple pill. When I do the pudding demonstration you're talking about, I'm trying to tie in digestive enzymes to how the purple pill blocks the acid, which his job is to activate the enzymes, and how dangerous that is for our health, and hence all the side effects that can come from being on the purple pill, like more kidney disease, more heart disease, more bone loss. You go through the list.
And it's amazing, someone can absolutely hear this in your class, and it can completely change their health, if not save their life, because maybe they're being prescribed this by their doctor, but not realizing what's actually going on.
It's actually a lack of enzymes. I tell people all the time, it's not too much acid, which is what the drug does. It blocks the acid production. It's actually a lack of enzymes. And so we see that, and we see it more prominently in people without a gallbladder. So it ties back into the gallbladder. And just think, if we have food, and the purpose of the pudding demonstration again, is if we have food sitting in the gut that is undigested, it's a real problem. Yeah. It creates havoc in the body.
Well, and constipation,
diarrhea, not getting the nutrients into the cells that we need. Pain.
Lots of pain.
Yeah.
Headaches.
It can lead to a myriad of problems. And then you put somebody on a drug to block the acid production, and I tell people all the time, it's like pulling the fuse or cutting the wire to the oil light in your car. You're not fixing the problem. You're just making the light quit blinking.
Yeah.
So we need to fix the problem, and we fix the problem with the enzymes, the probiotics. But for somebody without the gallbladder, those become even more critical, I think, for their optimal health plan.
And so, but the good news is, if you don't have a gallbladder, get some digestive enzymes.
Yeah.
And you can
we can replace what the gallbladder was doing with the digestive enzymes.
Well, that's wonderful. So, if you don't have a gallbladder, come to the class on January 4th and 5th, or just come and get some digestive enzymes. So, I know you could run out to any store and grab digestive enzymes today. Why yours versus another kind?
Well, again, if you look at the studies, 80% of digestive enzymes on the market won't have any digestive enzymes in them. That's number one. Number two, most would have toxic ingredients. Again, if you look at the studies. But I think more importantly, number three is, Janet, that what I've done is made a really complete enzyme. It will break down fats, proteins, and carbohydrates efficiently. And it's effective, and it has enough of the ingredients in it. It's not, most supplements are window dressing, I call it. They put all these ingredient lists on there, but they're in amounts that make no difference if they're even there. We use in all my supplements, I'm using what the studies show will break the food down.
What is optimal?
And we're only choosing a course from the best ingredients around the world to make sure that we're getting the highest quality. And then everything is tested. Each ingredient, the finished product, is always tested. So a living enzyme versus a dead enzyme, two completely different things. Just like a living probiotic versus a dead probiotic, two completely different things. So the temperature that it's processed at, all those things play into the quality of that product. And people almost universally that are on these proton pump inhibitors, the purple pills to block their acid, almost.
That's like Prilosec.
Nexium, Prevacid, those are the most common three today that you can buy with or without a prescription. Almost universally, the probiotic and the enzyme will take their need away for those drugs. I mean, it is 99%.
And it takes a little bit of time for your body to...
It depends on the person. Now, like we had, Bill was on a podcast, and he'd been on the drug for 25 years. So, yeah, it's going to take a little more time. For most people, it's honestly 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
But most people have not been on the drug 25 years that I run into. They may have been on it 4, 5, 6, 7, but not 25 typically.
So I have a friend that is using the digestive enzymes, hoping that it will help her constipation. Mm-hmm. So it would help constipation because it's going to break down the food. But she's also taking prescription stool softeners, Colace, things like that.
Yeah, docusate sodium.
What does that do?
Well, it tries to make the stool softer. It does exactly that. It tries to break it down and bring water in, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
And when you say bring water in, I imagine it's taking water from other parts of the body to get you to flush that out, and then you're dehydrated all over again.
Well, what we try to get people to do rather than have to use those, and maybe temporarily some people do, but enough enzymes, enough of the probiotics, and enough of the Kangen water. One of the things that Dr. Shinya, again, the guy who invented the colonoscope, the leading GI doctor in the world, is the way they introduced this guy, says that you have to drink this water from this medical device in Japan. And he goes through a bunch of reasons why. He showed Janet some amazing pictures of polyps that he would find in people before with colonoscopies, before Kangen water, and then after Kangen water, the polyps were often gone just with that change with him. And of course, enzymes were part of his program. But you would see he would see that those polyps would just disappear. So I think if we get a complete program, we can try to avoid the need for docusate sodium.
Okay. And back to the Kangen machine. This is a little funny story. It's not funny. It's a friend of mine lost everything when the hurricane came through Asheville. Yeah. And she was out of town, luckily. So she wasn't affected physically when a tree came and crashing through her bedroom. But when she did get home, the fire marshal said, "Your house is going to collapse. You cannot go inside. We cannot let you go in and get anything." And she said, "I'm getting my Kangen machine." That's what she was able to go in her house. And the first thing she did was grab her Kangen machine and a bag of clothes. And that's what she left with. Yeah. And, that's how important that machine is to her.
Well, it is really, Janet. During the storm, we lost power at our home. And the first thought that Beth and I both had was, how are we going to get Kangen water? Because it needs power, right? It needs electricity. And because we don't keep it in the fridge, we drink it right out of the sink fresh. Yeah. And we were both like, oh my gosh, we don't have Kangen water.
Well, we were smarter than you then because, we knew the power was going to go out. So we just started filling up gallons and gallons and gallons of water.
Yeah, I was kicking myself.
We would have Kangen water for as long as we could.
I was kicking myself the next few days. We still ran it through the filter and it made it taste better, but it wasn't getting the ionization and the hydrogen added to it.
I don't think people realize how much water tastes and smells like chlorine.
Once you have drank Kangen water for about 2 weeks, you absolutely know.
You'll go to a restaurant and you'll be like, ooh, this is what regular water smells and tastes like.
That's the reason I take my Kangen every restaurant I go to, right?
And back to gallbladder health and digestion and all that stuff, dehydration is a huge problem. Yes. And I deal with it every day teaching hot yoga because I have to keep my students hydrated. So just that drinking more water is so important.
It is.
The right kind of water.
And when we can get a water that is, and I know it sounds crazy, they can request the video that I made
to learn all about it.
But it is a smaller water molecule and it is absorbed much more efficiently into the cells, into the brain. It brings more oxygen. It brings more cleansing. It's more detoxifying.
Gives you
more
energy.
Hydrating. You don't feel it in the gut. You don't feel that slushy feeling.
You don't feel bloated. You don't even feel like you have to go to the bathroom all the time because it's like your body's absorbing it rather than just trying to.
Right. Well, the body actually, as we know, even as adults, is about 70% water. And children, infants, are up to 90% water.
Yeah.
So water is critical, for us to survive. And I know a lot of people who don't drink any water.
They think it tastes bad. And you know what? It does taste bad unless you there's some electrolytes in there or you're getting it out of the Kangen machine.
Right. They think they're getting their water from their soft drinks and their tea and stuff. And they are getting some water there. But I tell everybody, if it's 70% of what makes us up, we probably ought to drink just some of that, every day. So, I do think that part of the gut issues that you're talking about with the gallbladder and the constipation and the hard stools and stuff is absolutely dehydration in a lot of cases. It plays a role in that for sure.
And then we don't feel thirsty. So
right.
So I guess by the time you start feeling thirsty or by the time you're feeling like your lips are chapped.
Too late.
You're
already dehydrated.
You got to stay ahead of it.
Yeah.
So you got to drink your water, take your digestive enzymes, and come to class on January 4th and 5th. I mean, I'm so excited about that. I know I'm going to be talking about it a lot, but the kinds of little things like this that we learn make a difference.
Well, Janet, I think it's just a time where for 2 full days we're learning, right? We're learning.
We're seeing experiments. We're not just sitting there listening.
Yeah, it's not just it's more of an interactive learning.
Yeah.
I would say it's a group effort. We're eating good food. We're drinking quality Kangen water.
We're eating healthy snacks.
We're eating healthy snacks.
Billy makes us ice cream,
so people can understand that you can eat healthy things that taste good.
That taste good.
But I think more than anything is the experience of being around like-minded people who are all there to try to improve their health, to be the CEO of their own health. And I think that's the part where you really get encouragement. And once I think the word I should use is empower yourself with knowledge, and you see the people around you and the type and quality of people that are typically at this summit. It's one of these things that a lot of people, such as you and Don, want to come every year, right? Because
it's energizing.
It's energizing. It's empowering. You learn something new every time. I mean, I know this year already for the one coming up January 4th and 5th of 2025, there's already 7 repeats.
Oh, wow.
Already.
And probably about 14 or 15 seats left, and that's
about half. We're going to do 30 folks, and we're about halfway there, and we really haven't put anything out about it for the most part yet. Yeah. So if you have already been through the program, you can contact us, and there's a discount code that is only for people who've already come through the weekend. They always are invited back, as you know, at a discount.
Can we put that in the comments?
Yeah, we just need only the people. We're only going to honor it for people who've been through. But
or a link to how you sign up, we can put in the comments.
Yeah, so we can definitely have Mike. I'm speaking for Mike. I'm sure Mike can do that because I can't. Yes, we can definitely do that, and we would love to have anybody come. I know your husband Don sent or had a guy contact me about it just last night.
Oh, good.
I got a text from a young man that's having some health issues, and he wanted more information on the weekend. So hopefully he'll be there.
And you said young man because I think
he's
it
early
is
30s.
So
I believe.
important for people in their 20s and 30s to get in and to learn this stuff now because it's going to affect your kids. It's going to affect pregnancy. It's going to affect aging. And don't wait.
Well, Janet, when we look at the state of the health of America, the state of the health of Americans,
it's
if
sad.
we don't do something, I mean, honestly, if we don't do something, I'm not sure that we can survive as a nation. I know we have a lot of other issues that could take us down, but
we got to be proactive.
When I think of just one thing, that 77% of military-aged people, adults in America, are not eligible to be in the military.
Because they can't pass the exam?
77% because of health problems are not eligible. So you think, how long can we keep going down this road? And you think military age means young men and women. These are not people our age, 50s and 60s. These are people teens and 20s.
Because they're metabolically unhealthy and maybe don't even realize it yet.
Some of it is metabolic health, insulin resistance, physical inactivity. They can't pass the physical test. Some of it, quite frankly, if you look, is mental health with people today.
Definitely.
So there's so many issues in America that I think we really have to be more proactive than ever. We have to do something or we're going to be one of these statistics. I mean, 1 in 2 Americans are going to have cancer. You know, the number 1 cause of death in America is heart disease. The number 2 cause of death is cancer. They're neck and neck. 50% of all deaths in America are from either heart disease, or approximately 50% of all deaths in America are from cancer and heart disease, or heart disease and cancer. And so a lot of that, a vast majority of that is preventable. And we're going to learn how to make the risk much lower over the course of that weekend. And there's not one answer that you and I can give on a podcast. This is a lifestyle we're talking about of ways to reduce the risk of these things. And at the same time, feel like $1 million.
Speaking of $1 million, I'm going to ask you a question, put you on the spot.
Right.
What's the most important hormone? I'm going to answer.
Okay.
Oxytocin. Okay. Oxytocin is that feel-good hormone.
Yep.
And it happens when we connect with each other around something positive. And it happens when you hug and physical touch.
Yes.
And when you hold your baby. But, to get your oxytocin in, that happens during that weekend.
Yep.
Because regardless of whatever our differences are, people are coming together, helping each other, and learning how to feel better. And that's a ripple effect to our families, to the community, to society at large. And then when you have a lot of oxytocin, it dampens down the extra cortisol.
Yes.
Then the other hormones start to balance. So, come for the oxytocin.
I love that answer, Janet. That's not where I was going. I love it. Oxytocin does improve sleep dramatically.
Yeah.
So you're right. It does dampen cortisol, and it does make people feel good, and it makes people feel connected.
Yeah. So let's connect.
January 4th and 5th, Mike can put the link in how you can sign up. And
Awesome.
Again, if you've already been through, you get a discount.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
See you there.
Bye.